Welcome to BR Guesty Marketing to families in the era of domestic travel, when we're trying to bring the best minds around marketing specifically for short-term rental properties during this very trying time. My name is Omer Rabin. I'm the Managing Director and Global Head of Strategy here at Guesty, coming to you from a not-so-summery New York right now. And we have a great lineup of speakers from all over the world, partners and customers of ours at Guesty. I'm going to give just a quick, brief introduction and a little bit about the current industry trends as we are seeing it, and then lead to our esteemed panelists to share a little bit from their experience. So let me first welcome those panelists. We have online Damian Sheridan, who's the SEO expert and the director of Book Direct Show, and he's going to share a lot of very actionable data about specifically SEO and optimizing for getting revenue at this time. We have Fran Meyer with us. She's the CEO of BabyQuip. Hey, Fran. And we have Stephen Krikolis, who's the VP of Direct Marketing at Tentrr, really one of the companies that is a big star at the current time that could really understand what is a niche market of this time and totally leverage that. And we're very proud to see their amazing success in the last few months and hear more about it at this time today. A few reminders before we get started. It is a Zoom meeting, but it doesn't mean that we can hear you. And it doesn't mean that every time you want to speak, you can just get into the conversation, unfortunately. I would say be sure to grant all the necessary audio permission so you can hear all of us. Remember that we cannot hear you. This event is fully recorded and it will be shared via email for later access, so you can access these great insights whenever you decide to. But you can still take a very active part in the conversation, and it's highly encouraged. You have the Q&A and the chat box, so you can just type on the Q&A any question that you have for me, for the panelists. And towards the end of the event, we are going to ask all of the panelists all of your questions to make sure that we really make this event as actionable as possible to all of you. So make sure you submit your questions throughout the event. A little bit about what's going to happen now. So I'm already talking here, and I'm going to talk for just a few more minutes, give a little bit of introductory remarks, and mainly share with you what are the trends that we are seeing. We are really tracking the data of thousands of professional hosts in 80 different countries. We are looking at all the trends, and we have a great business intelligence team that is looking into all the trends and all the data that is flowing. And we're very proud to share a lot of this data and insights with you so you can get better decisions about pricing, about optimizing your listings, about marketing, and about many other things, and just understand where the industry is going and what other countries that might be at a different point of time in handling the pandemic are seeing, and really make sure that you are handling the situation better. So I'm going to share some of those. Then we're going to have the discussions led by our friends from Book Direct Show, BabyQuip, and Tentrr, so you can hear everything that they are doing and ask any questions that you have, which will lead us to the panel discussion. I will moderate the panel discussion and ask some of the questions that we have gotten ahead of time, and then have Q&A session, an open one where you can submit more questions to all the panelists that are here with us live today. As I said before, this event is recorded and is shared with over 600 people that already registered. Some of them are with us today. Some of them will probably watch that later. As well as will be on our info center for the coronavirus, which I will share about in just a moment. For those of you who don't know Guesty, Guesty is the leading end-to-end platform and solution to simplify the complex work, especially complex at this time, of professional hosts. So we are end-to-end software solution that allow you to do everything from communicating with the guest, to bring all the information into a one unified calendar, to streamline communication, to calling the cleaners, to optimize for pricing, to change the code for the locks and the automated virtual locks on the door. Everything in one place. And the idea is, for any professional host in the world, we are doing all the manual work and all the work that is repeating between guest and guest, and automating all of that so you can focus on what matters, on strategy, on expanding your business, on asset acquisition, etc. You can learn more about Guesty, of course, on our website. And if you have any questions about us, we'd love to connect with you after this and share more or schedule a demo. By being a platform that is a one-stop shop, we see ourselves not just as a software, but really the center of an ecosystem and an industry, connecting the professional host in 80 different countries to all the biggest OTAs and booking channels, as well to a lot of different partners that are really best of breed solutions for our industry. And the idea is that what we are not building and meeting as a need in our own software, we are partnering with the best company out there that is doing it, and really allowing you great API integrations that meet all your different needs as professional hosts. As part of that, we actually believe that our path to being successful in what we do is to make sure that our customers are successful and they're able to really optimize their operation for such interesting times, and learning from the experience of other customers and partner of ours, which is why we're doing this event series almost every week over the last 4 months. We're not going to talk about the pandemic. We're going to talk about the new normal. And I think that's a shift that we are seeing. Booking level is almost back to what it was before the pandemic, which is great news. And I'm going to share that specifically on geographies. And if you're looking at me right now and saying, I don't see it, who does see the same level that they have seen in February? I'm going to give some of those answers. What we are going to talk today is really the new normal, the new situation, the new travel persona that we are seeing and is responsible to all those bookings that are coming, mainly since the beginning of June and in increasing volume. COVID-19, as I said, resulted in new travel personas, specifically families. And what they are looking for is more outer space for kids to roam. There's no more this distinction between leisure and travel week and a working week. They want to have the ability to work from home, from non-home, from other environments. For the parents, they're looking for rural escapes from condensed cities and small apartments. And the idea is we're probably not going to go on a plane. We're probably not going to go to another island or another country. We are going to bring everybody together in the car, travel for a couple of hours, and get to a place that is very different from our shoebox apartment, has a garden, has the view of the mountains or a lake, and have the ability to work and have fun as a family together at the same time. Connectivity while being in the current outdoors is a big thing. Wi-Fi is key. Wi-Fi, and a fast one, is a must. Safe, clean, family-friendly environment is very important. Drive to destinations, as we said. The new short-term rental properties that are really performing the best are ones that are up to 3 hours away or 4 hours away from a major city. And people really care about extended stays. 14, 28, 30, 60, 90. The ability to basically experience one of the next waves or possible waves away in an area that we can work, relax, and be safe. As you can see some of the data that also our friends at VRBO provided here. And again, all of that is going to be on our info center. During the new normal, the big question is, what do families expect? What are the filters that they're applying? How do they get a decision where to stay? They really care about contact-free stays. Even though they want to have personal hospitality experience, they want to do that without meeting you, the professional hosts, in person. They're avoiding hotels where there's a lot of communal space. They don't want to go through a concierge table or a check-in table. They're looking for contact-free stays. They want it to be automated, and they want the communication to be instantaneous. So whenever they ask a question, they want to get an answer within seconds or minutes. They really care about flexible cancellation policies because they don't know what's going to happen in a week. They don't know when they're going to have to head back. And so they want to make sure that they have the control and the ability to cancel that stay as late as possible. And we'll talk in a second what it means for our business. They're looking for reduced daily rates that allow them to stay longer. They want to have the ability to book last minute. And they really care about what you are doing around cleaning the apartment before they check in. It doesn't matter who is the travel persona. In times of uncertainty, you are looking for flexibility. And we started working on flexible inventory and extended stays. It's something we've heard from our customers in March or April, and we really spun out a whole support around what we call flexible inventory management. There might be times in the next year that you want to optimize for short stays and high rate per night. It might be in the holidays if things open again. It might be in the spring. And so you want to be able to do that. And on the other hand, you want to be able to reduce the daily rate and really ensure getting some kind of revenue from reduced nightly rate, but a stay of 30, 60, 90 days. Blending short-term rentals with mid-term rentals. This is something that came from our customers and we introduced to Guesty relatively recently. And you can find all about that, what it means and how you can actually implement that relatively quickly at guesty.com/flexible inventory. Whether you're a customer of ours or not, you're able to read more about that support that we are really pioneering in the market. And we think it's very meaningful in ensuring revenue at times that are pretty uncertain. Let me share very quickly a few insights. I'm going to touch them very quickly because I don't want to take more time from our panelists. You can see a lot of the data here, and you can see all of that in our website. The first insight that we're seeing is that guests are taking the advantage of relaxed cancellation policy. It's not necessarily good news. It means that people don't only book stays that they can cancel, they actually go ahead and cancel them. And you can see, again, that the cancellations are more prominent this year compared to last year, and there's pretty big increase. Does that mean that you can actually offer to not give those cancellations? No. It means that you need to be very quickly to react to cancellation to try and get last minute reservation based on that. You have to actually incorporate flexible cancellation policies. Almost all of our customers are doing it, and the guests are expecting that. Make sure that you do that. It's something very basic that your guests are expecting to see, and it's a minimum term for them to actually feel comfortable in booking. And make sure that you are encouraging repeating customers that are less likely to actually cancel. Increase your SEO and direct booking traffic. It allows you to control that better and appeal to families and domestic travelers. Those are all expecting flexible cancellation policies. The good news, even if you got a last minute cancellation, we are seeing a great uptick in same-day reservations and in reservations the day before. And in fact, the majority of bookings are made only in the 7 days before the check-in date. Meaning, if you were able to land a reservation a month in advance and that person canceled 5 days before coming, that's completely okay, because most of the reservation, most of the traffic is actually getting in the week before. So you should not be as worried as you were before about introducing flexible cancellation policies. Third insight is that health and safety is top of mind for families traveling today. This is not surprising, but the magnitude of that is surprising. It is so meaningful that people care about that more than can they check in early, can they check out late, things that were very meaningful before. They really want to see that you have a buffer between reservations to clean, that you have no contact check-in options, that you can offer mid-stay cleanings if they want that and staying more than a week. They want to know about the air quality. They want to know if you have policy of masks for people, for cleaners that are coming to clean the apartment. They want to know how you're screening your guests, and is there somebody coming after each visit to make sure the place is completely clean. They are rewarding all of those hosts that are putting 1 day buffer as turnover between guests, and that really optimize for that. And so make sure that you A, doing it, and B, celebrating it, quote unquote, in your SEO operation, in the description of your listings, sometimes even in the names of your listings, to really make sure that you are showing that you are having those enhanced cleaning. Adjust your listing description, as I say, to promote your stringent cleaning and safety efforts. It means a lot. Another pro tip, and again, we discussed it in many of the previous webinars that you can find on our portal, is adopt tech that supports contact-free stays and put your guest at ease. Self-check-in, making sure that they can check in and out of the unit by themselves, keyless entry, tech that manages the cleaning staff remotely and making sure that they have done everything on your cleaning playbook, and automated messaging tools like direct integration to WhatsApp and to text messaging. All of those things are very meaningful, and you can introduce them to your Guesty account very, very quickly. And again, your customer success managers, or even myself, we're all very happy to support you in this. Automating Guesty communication is another pro tip that we wanted to share here with you. Make sure that you publicize what you have in the property as like activities that your guests can do, know the flexible cancellation, and make sure that every time they send a message, you are able to reply very quickly. At Guesty, we also offer guest communication services, GCS. So we actually have a team of people replying on your behalf based on your policy and based on the information that you provide us. We highly recommend right now introducing that. At time of uncertainty, your guests want to make sure that they have somebody on the other end answering their questions immediately. Again, everything that I just covered and a lot more information you can find at coronavirus.guesty.com. We believe that our success is rooted in enabling our customers to be successful at times like this. And so you'll find at any point a lot of tips around how to mitigate the impact, how to adjust your marketing strategy based on the information that we are seeing every single week. And this portal is being updated daily, how to price appropriately with a very changing market, and how to address those new travel personas. Today specifically, we're talking about the families who travel domestically and usually stay for more than a week or a weekend. The good news, and I'm going to finish with that, is that short-term rentals aren't going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, where the occupancy rate in hotel is under 30% all over the world, the occupancy rate for short-term rental properties is above 70%. And if you're looking at rural areas, a lot more than that. And so again, you can see a lot of the things that we are doing to support that. Specifically, you can see that July was a very strong month with some of the locations that you see here on the screen: Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Miami, doing much, much better than before. Specifically, I was amazed to see that Miami and Miami Beach are seeing 88% increase in revenues and booking in July 2020 compared to July 19. Again, the information that you see here is mainly reservation, not necessarily the nightly rate and the revenues, but even on the revenue perspective, we see all those cities performing better than 2019. And again, anything in the travel industry that is much better in 2020 compared to 2019 is a little miracle. And so we're very, very much celebrating this data. And now that I've taken definitely more time than I wanted to, it is time to pass the ball to our esteemed guest, Damien, Fran, and Stephen. We're going to start with Damien, who's joining us, and he's the SEO expert and director of the Book Direct show. Damien, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you so much. That was really useful. I learned a lot there. That was great. And yeah, I'm really delighted to be invited to join you guys here. I'm going to just talk a little bit just about SEO, keyword research, and the importance of direct booking websites, and how to incentivize your guests to book directly with you. So, I mean, this is the dream for a lot of people. How can we get our prospective guests to find our website firstly and to book with us? So there's a number of ways that I'm just going to go through now in terms of finding and researching your keywords, optimizing your site with some search engine optimization tips and some direct booking incentives that you can employ on your website. First of all, one thing I just wanted to kind of get everyone's head around is that with search engines, people use them very differently, and people use keywords very differently. So I've just given a few examples underneath here. We can see children versus kids. These are some of the most common phrases for child-friendly holidays or cottages. And this is mostly based in the UK. So we've got child-friendly holidays, child-friendly cottages, holiday cottages with children's facilities, child and dog-friendly cottages, etc. So these are the things that people are searching for online, and phrases that you really need to be aware of in terms of optimizing your site with your most important keywords. Equally, I'd say the same about babies versus toddlers. Toddlers is not necessarily a phrase that I would use. Toddler come teenager, but this is something I think that everyone kind of needs to be aware of. These words and phrases that people use for using one word or another, and newborns as well. And if your property is applicable for those, I would certainly be making sure you include them. And then we've got also family holidays, family-friendly rentals, unusual family homes, etc. When you're carrying out keyword research, it is very important. And there are hundreds of tools out there to use, and it's a tricky one to know which is right. There's no wrong ones really out there, but I'm going to just go through a few that are very useful. There's paid and free options out there. Keyword Planner, Google Ads, a lot of SEOs will point you to, and it is very useful. This is a tool for those who have Google Ad campaigns. It is very useful, but it is limited. So I'm going to just go through a couple of others underneath here. One thing I will say is that long-tailed keywords, which are just quite simply longer phrases, are a lot easier to rank for on search engines, especially like Google. whereas shorter keyword phrases like vacation rental New York or something like that is going to be very difficult to compete with an OTA because they've got armies of teams and they will be ranking most likely higher for that. Answer the Public is an excellent tool, which I'm sure some of you will use. You can use seed words to find out related phrases to your particular seed word, and it brings up all of the most popular search phrases that are used in Google. Google search itself, obviously, a very simple process to check out. Google autocomplete is on the right. You'll see a little screen grab there of something where you start typing in Miami kid FR. That will give you some options of things that people are searching for and have already searched for on Google. People also ask, and searches related to, you'll also see those on the main Google search engine results pages. Worth checking out because they give you invaluable information about phrases that people have been using. One thing I'd also say at this point is that approximately 25% of searches on Google alone are unique and have never been made before. So something to bear in mind. It's a very difficult task to identify those keywords that your prospective guest is using. But we have some tools here to try and get to the bottom of it. Google Search Console is a really great and underused facility. And one that I find most companies don't use to its maximum benefit. There is a tab called the Performance tab, which shows all of those search phrases that have resulted in an impression of your website in the first 10 pages of the results pages. So go check that out. And Ubersuggest is another really, really useful and free tool that is available online, and there is a Chrome extension for as well. And sorry, I missed that one. Keywords Everywhere, also a really useful Chrome extension. It is at a small cost of $10, but it helps you, it gives you data for any search that you undertake in Google. It will tell you the amount of monthly searches next to it. So I'm going to just run through a few essentials, what I believe are really useful to know an awful lot about search engine optimization. So one thing I'd say is keyword research. Number one, don't assume you know what your visitors are looking for. It will inevitably be different to what you think they're looking for. Don't try to compete with OTAs. Look for longer, long-tail keywords. These are ones that don't have as much search queries, but they do generally result in better intent and are easier to rank for. Your on-page optimization is where you can integrate your keywords. So the tools that we've used, once you've identified your keywords, we can add them into our content, our title tags, meta descriptions, image descriptions, URLs, header tags, and internal links. Linking and your link profile is one of the most important parts of SEO, but also one of the most difficult. So this is essentially getting people to link to your site. One great way is to publish just really invaluable, great content like guides, and reach out to your partners, your local partners or businesses, and get them to link to you. Interviews can also be a great way to massage someone's ego to get them to link to you. Your Google My Business page, again, something that's very underutilized, but something that can really drive amazing results, and especially in terms of ranking on the local pack, the map section of Google. So I've added a few things here just to make sure you do. Initially, make sure you claim your business, upload lots of high-res images, and then add all of your business details like your address, your categories, services, amenities, etc. And make sure you collect reviews and respond to them, equally important. Using YouTube is especially useful because it's owned by Google, so your result, these actually can appear in the SERPs and the results pages of Google if you make sure you optimize the descriptions and tags well. When people find your website, letting them know what kind of experience they're going to get visually is really important, and will keep people on your site, increasing your dwell time and making sure that those search engines like what people are doing. Implement Google Analytics and Search Console. I think everyone should be aware of analytics and should be using it regularly to collect data and to measure all of those milestones that you're of the SEO work that you're conducting. In fact, anything that you're doing online, Facebook campaigns, etc. And Search Console, again, if you're not aware of it or have not got it integrated, make sure you do, because it's where you're going to find out a lot of information about your website and errors, and where you can submit your sitemap to Google to make sure it is all of your pages are crawled. Citations, these are where your business details like your phone number, address, and business name are listed across your Google My Business profile, and directory listings like Yelp, and all local partners. Mobile first, for those of you who are aware of this phrase, this is how Google now, and over the last few years, is now judging your website by its mobile experience and optimization. So make sure you are constantly checking your experience and how your mobile site is set up, and that there are no serious errors on there. Make sure it's quick loading. Data is varied on this as to whether it should be under 4 seconds and under 3 seconds, etc. But essentially, just reduce it down as much as possible. You may need some technical help with this, but the easiest thing I'd say is just compress those images and make sure they are not. Finally, one of the things a lot of SEOs will tell you is about EAT, just to make sure your website content is of great quality, that it has got expertise, authority, and trust. And if you're doing this, the longer time goes on, the longer search engines like Google will love and trust you. And I'm just going to finish off with a couple of few ideas for direct booking incentives. And once we get people to our websites, there's a lot of things we need to add to make sure that they see all of the cleaning protocols, as I'm already mentioned. And what I trust, making sure they trust your booking process, making sure your accreditations are on there, making sure they know that you're an authentic business. There are a number of ways of doing this. But in terms of incentivizing a guest to book direct with you, I would say 3 of the most important would be to potentially offer a guest discount, maybe by signing up to a newsletter, for example. Making sure they know there's no booking fees. This is something that's often overlooked, but with all of the OTA, well, not all, but most OTAs, there are booking fees that are not necessarily transparent. So making sure that they're aware of them, and that flexible cancellation, every one of us need to be making sure that our websites are showing that the guests will be more flexible booking on an OTA. And I'm going to finish up just with a few examples at the bottom there of some prospective incentives that you can offer all of your guests when they come onto your site, and make sure they know they will get 1, 2, or more of these when they book direct with you. So those are early check-in, late check-out, possible mid-stay clean, depending on how long they're staying, free breakfasts, which I love, free room upgrades if it's applicable to your units, local discounts with businesses, really easy to set up, and again, very underutilized. If you have the possibility of collecting your guests from a local train station or airport, free luggage facility, and one, again, a very an important, for me, incentive that we can all offer is that personal customer service we can offer all of our guests is going to be a lot better than they will get on a major OTA. They're not going to have to stay on hold or go through chat boxes, etc. So this is something that we can provide, and they need to know about. So that's me. If anybody would like to get in contact, there's my email address, my LinkedIn, my Twitter and Facebook. And as I said, I'm the founder of the Book Direct Show. We are helping property managers, short-term rentals, hotels, and service accommodation with ideas and how to get more bookings direct away and reduce their reliance on OTAs. And we've got 50 amazing speakers, experts in their industries. So yeah, we'd love to check it out. And maybe we'll see you next month. And that's me.
Thank you, Damien. Thank you so much. And again, just to stress out, in one of the last events, we had one of our customers that raised their direct booking from 8% to 30% during the last few months. It is meaningful. It is something that is purely based on what you guys can do. And the customers that are booking direct are usually more likely to come back again. They're already verified guests of yours. You know who they are. and you're able to really get a lot more and establish this kind of relationship. So highly recommending implementing everything that we've seen here. Thank you, Damien.
Thank you.
And with that, when we are accommodating for families, we need to accommodate for the very unique guests, and especially the little guests that are coming along with the family. And with that, we have Fran Meyer with us, who is the CEO and founder of BabyQuip. Hey, Fran.
Good morning, good evening, and good night. Thanks so much for having us here today. Thanks, Damien, for all those tips. Appreciate it. And today I'm going to talk to you about really specifically traveling with small children. So BabyQuip, we're a marketplace. We provide clean, safe, and insured baby gear from strollers to car seats to baby monitors, even toys, to families wherever they're traveling. And we do this by leveraging 600 who we call quality providers, who are mostly moms, who own the gear, deliver it, set it up, pick it up, and so on. And we're mostly in the United States and Canada at this time. Our customers are millennial parents, and just some stats in case you don't know. There's about 10 million families with young children. This is U.S. data mostly. They love to travel, driving over 10 million vacations and 150 billion family travel market. And we're certainly seeing, as Omar talked to earlier, families are traveling during this time. It's probably the only segment coming back. They're very comfortable with renting. They value experiences more than goods. They really embrace the sharing economy. Of course, they have values around sustainability and very much now about clean. So for BabyQuip, vacation rentals are our most strategic channel. They're the largest segment, about 36% of orders, 41% of GMV, higher order value, and this is because people are looking for an experience that's most like home. And as we talked about earlier, more room for the family, more room for everybody to work. We also serve grandparents in hotels, but vacation rentals are critical. So the pandemic happens. As it happened for us, it hit pretty much the beginning part of March. We were actually on Shark Tank here in the US on March 6th. We got tons of traffic, but not so many orders because by that point, people were really pulling back. Lots of cancellations, really difficult. So once we got over the shock, it was, let's find out what our customers are doing. Let's retrain our providers to make sure they're following new cleaning and contact protocols. We actually executed on a new line of business called cleaning. So this is where we clean strollers and car seats. And we have been consistent about getting the word out that we're still here, we're still ready to serve. So in terms of the survey, we went back to our customers and said, what are the most important things that you're thinking about when renting baby gear? And no surprise to us, 84%, now this is almost 40 points higher than the last time we surveyed them, said clean and safe gear is critical. Then next, reasonable rental fees. That's no surprise, but that increased in importance. And then the third one was delivery and setup. So very much concerned about that process. Now the good news is our customers have said that our gear is always clean and safe, which is why we have an 82 Net Promoter Score. I want to focus a little bit about contact delivery. Became very important with over 57% saying that they wanted contactless delivery. So again, you're seeing all these trends across segments being very consistent. Then we introduced new cleaning processes, and this is mostly about baby gear, but it can apply to appliances and things into the house. So vacuum, top to bottom, 360 degrees, inside all those crevices, and for, if you can imagine, car seats and strollers inside the straps and so on. With children, you want to use a mild detergent. Maybe you want to steam. You don't necessarily want a whole lot of chemicals. You do want to sanitize, and steamers sanitize as well as other cleaning supplies. And of course, you want to make sure things are dry so that they don't attract new germs. And then put everything back together again. So we trained our providers with all of these options. Now, then we announced our cleaning service. It's mostly focused on strollers and car seats for local families. This is already taken off. Our providers who are already renting gear are also cleaning gear. Now they can clean gear for their local families. And we relaunched this in July in over 60 markets, and we're already growing very quickly. So this is an example of a pivot. And, in vacation rentals, I've seen people now renting rooms for offices and renting their pools. So, this is the time for creativity and trying things out. Then the other thing that we really worked on, even though we had to slash our paid media budget, we still want to keep the SEO and keep BabyQuip top of mind. So we really kept up developing new content and our social media presence. So we did a lot of things like 20 coronavirus travel tips to keep your family safe. Some of these, of course, are looking for clean and safe vacation rentals. Some of them are teaching your kids to keep their hands in their pocket so that they're not touching too many things. And some tips on how to travel on a plane. So what we're finding is tips and guides are more important than ever. People really want some help. This is uncharted territory. And of course, you want to make sure that your content is reinforcing clean and safe, because potential guests may be filtering or searching, looking for those kinds of assurances. So, very consistent with everybody else, our tips for vacation rental managers is embrace new cleaning protocols, contactless check-in, mask, sanitizer, and so on. Encourage guests to rent out outdoor gear, and make sure you tell them about the outdoor options in your vacation rental, because obviously if they want to visit with family, maybe at their destination, being outside is really, really critical. Flexible cancellation policies, guidelines on takeout and delivery, options that they might enjoy, maybe your favorite restaurants that are delivering special menus. Provide grocery delivery options. BabyQuip will also deliver groceries along with the baby gear. Make sure you have cleaning supplies that are non-toxic, family-friendly in your property so guests can clean as they go. And make sure that they know you are stepping up to the challenge during this time. And that's through your own content, but your email and everything. I'm an Airbnb and VRBO host, and I've changed all of my descriptions to be more family friendly. So that's it. That's where you could find us. I think I gave back a little bit of time here, so thanks so much. Thanks. Really enjoyed doing this today.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you for sharing your shark tips with us.
Yes.
I'm excited to hear that the business are picking up again, and thank you for being a great partner of ours. And with that, I want to pass it before, and again, I see already a lot of questions for Fran from people who really want to make sure that their listings are ready for the babies, and we're going to get to all of them soon. But before that, let me pass the ball to Stephen Krikalis, a friend and the head of direct marketing, VP of direct marketing for Tentrr. Tentrr is one of, I would say, even the favorite customers that we have here at Guesty, because they created, in a way, the industry of glamping, with a very unique market that only grew over the last few months. And they have been doing a great work, really leveraging the demand out there, and to create an amazing experience, a very serene experience, exactly at this time, to all the travelers who are looking for something different outside of the city. I'm going to stop talking about Tentrr and let Tentrr speak about themselves. So Stephen, take it away.
I'll start off, for those not familiar with Tentrr, we'll start off by briefly explaining what Tentrr is. And I want to say here that Tentrr is not your typical property management company. We partner with private landowners and state parks, and we create these beautiful campsites with privacy and room to roam. And we have more than 800 campsites total nationwide, but ultimately, at the end of the day, like the host, or as we call them, the camp keepers, are managing their own properties with Tentrr support, of course. The camp keepers are in full control of the guest experience during each stay, and even have the ability to make each stay even more enjoyable by providing extras ranging from like bed linens and firewood to more advanced things like kayak rentals and horseback riding lessons. So we also like to think that we are sort of bridging the divide between rural and urban communities and economies, as we're helping city dwellers primarily go out and enjoy the outdoors in these rural areas. So as Omer said, we have our own website, Tentrr.com, where campers can search for and book their perfect campsite, and where hosts also can manage their campsites. In addition, because of our integration with Guesty, we also partner with all major OTAs very seamlessly. So you can find our campsites also on Airbnb and VRBO and Booking.com, etc. We have 3 types of campsites. Our first one is our signature campsite, which is our, well, signature product. These are safari-style canvas tents on wooden platforms with queen-size beds inside, a picnic table, a fire pit, even a toilet solution, and various other amenities. And these can be found on both private and state land. We have the DIY campsites, which are, this is the backcountry solution, camping solution on private land. And this is where campers can pitch their own tent on private land, as I said. And then we also have partner sites, which these include effectively hosts who already have a tent-like structure on their property. And this is sometimes a lot more glamping oriented as well, with full electricity, Wi-Fi, and the works. So here's something that I started looking at actually this year, but this is some proof that of the rise of domestic travel. This is a chart from Google Trends showing the level of interest for the search term camping near me for the last 5 years. And the peaks typically occur every July or so, as camping interest is at its highest during the summer months. In our case, we have seen an amazing increase in demand for outdoor activities and camping after an initial decrease ranging from mid-March to end of April, when the initial stay-at-home orders were issued and people were a little bit panicked and started canceling all their plans. But since that time, we have seen a big increase in reservations. To give you some context, our reservations from April to May of this year grew by 10x, while in June and July, we have seen a 4x increase year over year, like versus 2019. So next, I'll get into some various steps that we took to adjust to this new reality of COVID. So first, let me just mention that, since our campsites are perfect for social distancing, to begin with, unlike traditional campgrounds, as they are individually secluded on 10 acres of land or more, we felt that we had just to reemphasize Tentrr's positioning on privacy and seclusion. Secondly, we felt it was important to thoughtfully craft COVID-19 guidelines that ensured the health and safety of both our guests and our hosts, and which could be implemented across the board for all of our 800 campsites. And last but not least, we ensured that these guidelines are actually communicated very easily to both guests and hosts. And we did this by including them in various touch points that we have, such as our website, the campsite description, and emails. So these are some highlights, some of the most important COVID-19 guidelines that we implemented. First and foremost, we implemented an enhanced cleaning procedure performed by the hosts. Secondly, we created a more flexible cancellation policy, even though we felt that our cancellation policy was already flexible, since previously guests would only incur a cancellation fee if canceling within 72 hours of check-in. We actually changed that to up to 24 hours of check-in, So during the height of the pandemic, this is no longer valid, but during the time of uncertainty, of great uncertainty and people having to change plans quickly, we actually implemented this as well. We also created a 24-hour buffer between consecutive reservations. So, but this has been recently replaced, literally last week or so, by creating more customized check-in and check-out times as defined by the host to allow for the host to disinfect between the stays. And I should say here that the main reason for this change was both our guests and our hosts were actually requesting this change. And our guests just felt that there weren't enough days available for them to book a stay when we implemented this. Number 4 was we implemented contactless check-in and check-out, which for us, again, was fairly easy to implement considering there is no exchange of keys or anything of that sort. So there is a greeting when campers arrive, but there's no exchange of anything, and that can be done at a distance. And finally, we required hosts to provide additional items to allow guests to perform frequent hand washing of their own and campsite disinfecting. So we provide them extra drinking water, soap, paper towels, and disinfectant. So the next step involved communicating these guidelines to our customers, and these are just 2 examples of what we did. We crafted, first of all, we crafted separate guidelines. The top part is something that we implemented on our website, prominently displayed on our website. The bottom part is something that we implemented on every listing description on OTA, since the website message wouldn't be relevant there. So, but we also created separate guidelines for campers versus keepers, because there are changes there, as you can see highlighted here in the orange rectangle. And we, in addition, like I mentioned, we also included this information in booking confirmation emails, and we had an additional dedicated page on our website explaining these guidelines in a lot more detail. So these are link outs to go to other pages so that you can read them more thoroughly. In addition, some of our hosts decided to make their own updates to their listing descriptions. So, some were updating the site name to encourage guests to book their site as a safe alternative to other getaways, or even encouraging guests to reach out with questions or concerns. Others were highlighting things like additional safety steps that they had taken of their own. And some hosts, as you can see over here, some hosts that maybe had 2 sites on the property only now allowed 1 group to stay at a time. So typically 2 different groups could book each campsite, but they restricted this to be only 1 group at a time. And also some hosts actually stopped providing some extras because of their own concerns about the virus transmission, and most notably bed linen. So as an extra, campers could purchase bed linens for their bed, so the host would actually make their bed. But instead, because of their own concerns about handling the linens that maybe their guests slept on, they actually encouraged their guests to bring their own instead. Our strategy of highlighting privacy and seclusion, as well as implementing and communicating these guidelines, has led to positive results as it relates to families. So for this particular demographic, we've seen website visits up 50% year over year. We've seen the conversion rate up by 60% year over year. And bookings for this demographic are up 130% year over year. And we've also seen that bookings with 3 to 6 guests on the reservation have increased more than any other group size. So again, this points to how it's families or even small groups that are booking more. Finally, some evidence here via some of the post-trip reviews on how appreciative guests have been about both the private and seclusion that Tentrr offers, but also the efforts taken by the hosts and the Tentrr team to ensure a safe and enjoyable trip. So I've highlighted here some specific sentences from these reviews, and how these are very specific to COVID. And we have seen an increase in COVID-related reviews after trips have been completed. So you see here, had all the necessary precautions, the best choice to escape the COVID nightmare. This is our idea of social distancing, and so on and so forth. So that's it for me. You can visit us at tentrr.com, or you can email me at steven@tentrr.com if you have any questions or concerns or comments. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Steven. Great to see how great of a result you had over the last quarter, and I'm sure this summer and the fall are going to be just as exciting. And with that, once again, I want to ask everybody to send us some questions. We have all the panelists here. I see a lot of questions coming in. Feel free to keep them coming. Myself, as well as Abby, our producer from Guesty headquarters in Tel Aviv, are monitoring your questions, and we're going to ask them in the next few minutes that we have left. I want to start with a question to all of you. We were just in the picture of Steven by the fireplace in one of those nice glamping sites. So maybe it's time for some horror stories. Do you guys want to share with me, if you don't mind, one story of something that has been done wrong? How come, or what things have property managers did wrong that can really help us learn what not to do when we are trying to cater for families coming at this time to our properties? I want to jump in first. Damien, any idea of like people who are doing SEO or anything else wrong at this time?
Yeah, I'm not sure if these aren't really horror stories as such, but maybe just in terms of
Common mistakes will do.
I would say in terms of SEO and in terms of catering for a new market that you are perhaps have not targeted before, I think it's really important to know your market and not just jump in and think, okay, I previously, focused on maybe corporate travelers or couples or whatever, and now thinking, right, we need to be looking at groups. Let's just do it. Let's just throw it out there, change our listings to include the word families and clean and secure, etc. But I think, it's really important to know your market, know what facilities they want, know what amenities they need, know what kind of entertainment they need. And, and what I say to all of my clients is become the local area. I mean, Fran, for example, will know much more about this than me, but I think it's that mind shift and knowing your target market, if you're changing and pivoting during this time, is crucial. And, make sure you cater for them properly and don't just, don't just stick a few words out there and think that's going to work.
Yeah, I would say the most important thing is to keep agile. And the people who did not sort of recognize that we're in a new normal are the ones that are going to be falling behind. And, it's tough when you're faced with a lot of things changing all at once and you're a property manager. I have properties in Santa Fe and here in San Francisco. I got tons of cancellations and I was tempted to reduce my pricing a whole lot. And then the reservations came back and I realized that pricing and keeping prices high is an important way to distinguish the quality of my property and the quality of guests that I want to get.
Steven, any thoughts on that from your end?
Yes, no, I agree with both Damien and Fran. I think it's important for companies, and we were actually to not appear tone deaf during this time. So, we knew that our positioning was such that, it's a perfect getaway, right? Like it's a perfect way for someone to go and recharge, be in the outdoors. That's what everyone says, right? Go outdoors. But at the same time, we didn't want to look like we're capitalizing on a situation, and we weren't trying to capitalize on a situation. So that's why I mentioned earlier how we tried to just reemphasize our position, the positioning that we had all along about privacy and seclusion. On the other hand, another mistake would be to do absolutely nothing, right? And be like, we'll just keep what we're doing what we're doing, and things will pass. Right. So you got to find that middle ground of finding the middle ground of how you approach the situation. So going one extreme or the other is dangerous.
Another question that I'm seeing coming is from guests who are on the line and say, it's not about how do I open for families, is do I even want to open for families? Families have kids can be messy, families can be unpredictable. What do you have to say to all of those property managers that are kind of on the fence and saying, do I even want to go through the length of making my properties family ready or family prepared?
Well, I guess I would say from our perspective is get some help if you don't want to do all the work. So rely on us to help you with the baby gear. We know that vacation rental hosts can easily get overwhelmed with, what size car seat, what size stroller, is it a crib or a pack and play? Well, we'll come in and take care of that for you, and toys too.
Stephen, Damian, any thoughts about that for people who are on the fence? Do we even want to diversify and be open for families?
Well, I would just say that it's an amazing opportunity, right? If you don't cater to these to families, then you're just going to be missing out on a huge market. I completely understand it if you're afraid of the virus itself, and are afraid that maybe I don't want to do this because what if I get infected by doing it? But I think that if you're not doing it because it's extra work, I don't think that's a valid argument. You're just going to be missing out on this opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity not to be missed out on at the moment. In terms of being worried about maybe more mess or anything like that, I'm not sure whether that can justify ruling out what is, respectively a huge clientele. So.
Absolutely. So Fran, another question for you. You guys introduced a new cleaning standard landing page to all of the hosts that are your customer about how to create health and safety policies for this time. What should management companies consider when they're creating their own cleaning strategy, especially as they're now going to host families with children? Any specific trends that you're seeing there that are very unique and different from what we've used to do as cleaning procedures until March or April?
Yeah, probably the interesting thing is cleaners should be wearing masks and gloves. That's probably a difference. Probably cleaners were still wearing gloves before. But, you want to protect your cleaners as well as the guest. I think and then I think the second thing is just the thoroughness of the clean and being able to make representations to your guest that you are really doing a very thorough cleaning. And then when you think about things with children, you want to clean and sanitize, but you want to use non-toxic supplies. So, keep it safe and gentle clean. Thorough and gentle.
Thorough and gentle. Stephen, question for you that I see here. Did you change at all your pricing in terms of, your average nightly pricing and in general in your offering in light of the current situation? Because on one hand, you want to get more of the volume because some of the travel going down. On the other hand, your actual demand is going up. How did you think about all of that in terms of setting the pricing and your pricing strategy?
Well, our pricing is interesting because we don't dictate the pricing ourselves. It's the hosts who control the prices. Although, to answer your question, I don't think I've noticed any big increase. I haven't noticed any increase in pricing because from our perspective, when you have a 4x growth year over year, you'd expect that there's going to be some price gouging going on. But there hasn't been any. And one of the key points here is that that I didn't mention is that even though our hosts many times have been kind of apprehensive about hosting city people on the one hand side, because you're hosting people going away from the city, so they're potentially bringing the virus along with them. Which is why they maybe pulled back on some of the bed linen stuff. But on the other hand, they have been amazingly enthusiastic about welcoming guests who wanted to escape the cities and recharge and relax and show them their property and how nice everything is there. So it's not in the MO of our hosts to nickel and dime you. They just enjoying becoming part of your stay and your vacation.
Thank you. Another question for Damian. This one is coming from somebody now on the line named Harvey that is saying, basically, we believe in SEO. It sounds cool. We want to move direct. It's clearly the right decision. but what are the Monday morning action items? What are the things that we need to do as first steps next week to actually pivot to go more direct and be more SEO minded? Because it sounds like there's a whole list. What are the first things that we need to do to get started?
It's a tricky one, but I mean, and what I would also say, it's very difficult. Direct booking strategies are very difficult. It's very, and it's a time resource as well. There's no quick wins. You're very unlikely, regardless of what you do, to get quick wins and get those direct bookings in, within a week or two or a month. It's a long-term investment. But a couple of things I would suggest is, well, essentially having a website. I think that's crucial. Something that we all take for granted. Make sure your website is fast. A couple of things that I touched on before. Make sure you've got a very smooth booking process. This is something that's really taken for granted by a lot of property managers, and they try to get. And we can all be guilty of this. We can try to get too much guest data before we actually confirm the booking. And what we really want to do is, get the booking in, and then we can start to upsell or whatever. Make the process really simple, really easy, and get some other people to test it out for you. Because inevitably, if you developed your own site, you probably looked at it every single day, and you can't see the wood for the trees. So, get other people to look at your site. Make sure it's one of the biggest things at the moment, and one of the things that we have most speakers talking about our show. How can you just authenticate your site and make it so that it's completely trustworthy? People would not have doubts to book with you. And you Google My Business profile as well, really important, just to make sure that's optimized. Hey, I could go on here, guys, but
I was asking for a few action items. You gave a monthly plan. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, but it's not easy. It's one thing I would say. It's a lot easier said than done, but I think it's imperative. I think it's our business, and what I say to people is make it your business to make it your business.
Absolutely. I see a lot of questions, by the way, about pricing. So I just want to remind everybody that we do have a dedicated webinar coming later this month, specifically on how to price for the new normal and how to price for flexible and extended stays. So please join us for that. I want to finish with one quick question for everybody. Are there any amenities that you think perhaps weren't that important in the pre-COVID era and now are basically non-negotiable for guests, specifically those who are traveling with children? So if you had to choose one amenity that everybody on the line should introduce to their units next week, what would that be? Maybe let's start with you, Fran.
Okay, I would say that toys are pretty critical right now. So obviously all kinds of baby gear, but people don't think about toys, and toys really keep those kids occupied while you're doing your Zoom call.
Phenomenal. Stephen, any thoughts from your end? An amenity that you must introduce and maybe didn't have to in 2019?
Cleaning products. You have to make sure that your guests have cleaning products around. And in our situation, it's a little trickier because, you wouldn't expect someone to visit your campsite with, I don't know, like Lysol in their bag, right? Like they're worried about other things. So providing some of these cleaning products on site, just so that they can have the peace of mind themselves, and also practice safe hygiene.
Perfect. And lastly, Demian, any thoughts from your end about a must-have amenity that might have been introduced in 2020?
Well, in terms of families, I have a very young family, and I think one of the first things I look for would be entertainment, making sure the kids are going to be entertained. Now, as much as I would not necessarily be looking at TV, for example, I think that is important to a lot of people. So making sure you have maybe things like Netflix or Disney or whatever, or even if it's DVDs or something, but just making sure that they're aware of where what entertainment you can provide, or at least that you are aware of local activities for your kids just to entertain them.
Keeping the kids busy and entertained. So first of all, thank you, Fran. Thank you, Demian. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much for being with us. To everybody on the line, again, we will have the recording and we will send it to you, and to all the people who are watching us now later on the recording, thank you as well for joining us. As a reminder, we have a whole lot of webinars like that with industry experts from all over the world, really sharing the best practices with the idea of making sure that all of you are able to implement that in your own units. If you want to hear more about these sessions, if you want to hear more about Guesty, please reach out to us at meetup@guesty.com. And you can check out all the future events at guesty.com/events and all the previous events in our coronavirus portal with all the data and all the information that you need. So please make sure to check all of these up. Again, I want to thank Abby, who's joining us from as our chief producer from our headquarters in Tel Aviv. And to all of you that join us, thanks again. Have a great weekend. And looking forward to see you in our many, many future events. Thanks again, everybody.